Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Lunch and Learn, being co-hosted, I suppose, by Lawyers Weekly and So They Can. My name's Jerome Doraisamy. I'm the editor of Lawyers Weekly, and we've got a couple of special guests for you here today. First of all, I want to introduce Cassandra Treadwell, who is a former lawyer and also the CEO of So They Can. Cassandra, thanks so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you, Jerome. It's lovely to be here.
We also have Lara Wentworth, who is a co-founder and one of the directors of Coaching Advocates, which is coaching business for lawyers and others in professional services. Lara, welcome.
Thank you, Jerome. Lovely to be here.
And finally, we also have Emily Whitehouse, who is the partnerships manager at So They Can. Emily, hello.
Hi, Jerome. Thanks so much. Thanks for that lovely warm welcome.
Once again, thank you all for being here today as well. This is being recorded, so if you do have to duck out at any point, or if you have to leave early, you will be able to view the full recording later on once we send it out. So I want to talk a little bit firstly about why I'm here. So Lawyers Weekly and So They Can have had a bit of a partnership for the last couple of years. They've been a philanthropic partner of our annual Women in Law Awards. And this year we decided to up the ante a little bit with our partnership. We're working a lot more closely with them at the moment. We're currently engaged in their One Human Race challenge, which for those of you who don't know is a challenge for anyone to move at least 85 kilometers over the month of March. That movement can be anything from running, swimming, walking, whatever it is you want to be. And the reason for doing 85 kilometers is that is the number, or that is the percentage of young girls aged between 9 and 13 who are victims of or are exposed to genital mutilation and forced marriage. And so it's really important to be able to raise some awareness, raise some funds for those girls in East Africa. Lawyers Weekly's parent company, Momentum Media, is doing that challenge, the One Human Race. We've got a team who are actively trying to not only get as many kilometers under our belts as we can, but we're also looking to raise money. And at least from the look of the fundraising page across the So They Can challenge, there's lots of money being raised. If you haven't already donated to those pages, I'd strongly recommend you go and do so. For me, I've got a little bit of a personal history with So They Can as well. So I first got introduced to Cassandra Treadwell, Cass, as a former lawyer. She came on the Lawyers Weekly show, our podcast, to talk about her experience as a lawyer, and then moving forward into why she decided to found So They Can, which obviously, as you all know, works in East Africa on the ground, providing education and community building for children over there. We also did a podcast a little while back that you might recall with Heidi Nash-Smith and also with Hugh Stowe, and they're a big law partner and a barrister respectively. They've worked on the ground with So They Can, with their community and school building initiatives. They were able to offer their insights into why work with this particular organization is so important, but more broadly, why law is at its core an altruistic profession. It's a vocation that serves the community around it. And I think that particular theme is so critical for all of us here today to remember, the real reason why we all studied and practiced law in the first place, which is to help the communities around us, to use our expertise, as lawyers, the knowledge and experience that comes with that in order to serve those who are in need. I now want to hand over to Emily, who is going to introduce you to So They Can and also the Lawyers Weekly Education Collective and really delve more deeply into why we're all here today. So Emily, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jerome. So just a little bit of background on So We Can, who we are. We're actually one of only 58 DFAT accredited NGOs in Australia. It's a really rigorous accreditation process, but it's something that gives a lot of reassurance to our supporters, so they know that the funds that they give are being spent well, and it's actually being spent on sustainable development work. So we partner with vulnerable communities and their governments, basically to change the future of children and their families and communities when they're living in poverty, and we do that through education. So we started out over 10 years ago just by building one school in Kenya, and this was due to a direct request from a community that were actually living in an internally displaced persons camp after the election violence in 2010. And they specifically reached out and said, please, can you help us? We want to provide an education for our children, because we see that as the only legacy we can leave our children, and it's the only way that our children can lift themselves out of poverty. So that's how So They Can was founded, but we've grown a lot since then, and we're now actually able to partner with 47 schools across 3 different communities in Kenya and Tanzania. And that means that we can actually support over 30,000 children and their families and their communities every year. So why do we focus on education? Well, investing in education isn't just the right thing to do, it's actually the smart thing to do for all of us, for our collective future. As you can imagine, inequalities are reduced. There are opportunities for whole communities to thrive as the economies in those communities are strengthened. So we actually work with partners in Africa and in Australia and New Zealand to remove barriers to education for the vulnerable communities that we're supporting. So everything we do is designed to empower those local communities to actually become self-sufficient. Our local teams in Africa work and talk to the communities and develop a shared plan with that with a viable exit strategy. So everything we do is designed for us to be able to, over an 8-year cycle, actually increase local capabilities, skills, so that we can actually move on to another community. We don't want these communities to rely on us. We want them to become self-sufficient. So our work touches on quite a few of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but in particular, we're really focusing on the first 5, which are no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, and a really important one, gender equality. So you might also ask why we're focusing on Africa. Well, Sub-Saharan Africa actually has the highest rates of education exclusion, and over 1/5 of children who are aged between 6 and 11 are actually out of school. There's a really big need at the moment, and COVID hasn't helped at all. As you can imagine, it's increased the number of children globally who aren't able to attend school because of the pandemic. And so we're really looking for help with people that want to get involved in reducing inequalities and really progressing the Sustainable Development Goals with us. So that's why we talk to our amazing friends at Lawyers Weekly and Momentum Media, and together we came up with the Education Collective as a way for people, colleagues in the legal profession, to be able to really address the terrible injustice of so many children not having that basic human right of an education. So I'm guessing that all of us here and everyone listening today has had access to a quality education, and that there were lots of opportunities that opened up because of that. And that's what we want to do for children in Africa. We want to unleash that untapped potential through education. So we're looking to bring together 40 people who would like to be a part of this and help us with our mission and donate $60 a month. And if we can find 40 people to do that, it means we can support all of our education programs in a whole school for a whole year. So that impacts on 800 children, and the knock-on effect and positive impact on their families and their communities. So that's what we're hoping to do, and that's why we're here today. And I think the best way to provide even more information about So They Can and what we're about is to show a video. So I'll hand you over to the children, and you can see for yourself. I'm not sure if other people can hear the sound. Can you? Ellie, are you able to just put the sound on? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Perfect.
Slight technical glitch.
Always.
And sorry, I should have introduced Cass before the video. I'd like to now hand over to Cass, our CEO and co-founder. And she'll be talking about the school that the Education Collective will be supporting.
Excellent. Thank you, Em. I like the funky music in the background. Thanks, whoever did that. I love watching those videos after being far too long, not being able to get back to Africa, although going soon. It's the next best thing, isn't it? Seeing the children over there. So thank you very much, Jerome and Emily. And thanks everyone for taking the time to listen a little bit more about what we're doing over in Kenya and Tanzania, and specifically our objective around our Ndanoga primary school in Mamere in Tanzania. So this school, we started working with Ndanoga it's in Mamere, which is 2.5 hours south of Arusha for anyone that's been to Tanzania. And we started work there in 2017. The school has 816 students as of today. That's 409 boys and 407 wee girls. And the children we work with in all of our 47 schools, they're totally inspiring. They have literally nothing materially, and they often, I'll see them walking to school, potentially walking up to 7 kilometres one way, many in bare feet with no shoes on, but they'll constantly have a smile on their face. And they have this kind of innate understanding that school and the education that they receive there will change their lives, and that of their children and future generations forever. So they really embrace this opportunity of education, and that sustainable aspect to it is what just drives us all so they can. So yeah, we partner with, as Emily said, we partner with the government with all of our projects, and accordingly, Ndanoga School is a public school. They currently have 8 classrooms, but to be perfectly frank, the 4 that they say are constructed are fairly dilapidated, and the other 4 are only half built. So that's why we need your help. We have 16 teachers there, which with over 800 students means that each teacher on a good day has 51 students to support and look after, which is not a great education delivery for any of us. So Ndanoga is actually one of our core schools. We have 3 phases in our education program. It goes from foundation, which is a 1-year partnership we do with the school to ensure that the communities that we're working with have enough sort of skin in the game and that we can work together. And then we move on to a 5-year core phase where we throw all of our education projects at them, and then they move into a 2 to 3 year sustained phase where we've economically empowered the community around the school community, and we can slowly exit from a funding point of view whilst always remaining on the school boards. So the projects that we deliver at the moment at Ndanoga are My Voice project, and this is a beautiful project. It builds our children's self-esteem. It teaches both our boys and our girls about their human rights, and that these rights are protected by both national and international law. We also have Shamba Letu project. It's beautiful. This is our school farm, and it's all around providing produce to create a hot lunch for the children at school. We bring in tractors to develop a school farm in our schools, and we work with the teachers and the students to teach them best practice farming in order for them to grow sort of maize, beans, vegetables, so that they can provide a hot lunch for our students. And this may seem like a bit of a luxury for us that pack our children off to school with a cold packed lunch, but how it's so nothing's become more apparent to me over the last 12 years of operating so they can, the importance of this hot lunch. Our monitoring and evaluation data tells us that the schools that we work with that are able to provide lunch see a 98% attendance rate, where the other public schools that we don't work with and don't have hot lunches for school, they have on average, if they're lucky, 63% attendance rate for our students. So it's not only their only meal for the day. Many of these children, they don't eat from Friday night to Monday lunchtime, but it's also a major motivator for the parents to send their children to school, because that's just one less mouth to feed. We also run our school improvement project at Ndanoga. It's critical given that Ndanoga has only 8 classrooms for over 800 students. So our school improvement is about trying to provide basic infrastructure at the school. We don't want to put too much capital into beautiful looking classrooms, but we will work with the school community who might provide the labour and the mud bricks to create walls of a classroom, and we'll then put on the more expensive iron sheet roofing. We also have our Keeping Girls in School project, and it's such a pivotal and impactful project. They all are, but this one always resonates with many of us. We teach the girls and the boys that girls are protected human beings and they're not commercial property. We take them through the international and national legislation that protects them. And our Keeping Girls in School is just a game changer for these brave girls who they previously would think of themselves and talk about themselves as being the property of their fathers and their brothers. And the other really cool aspect about Keeping Girls in School is it enables our girls to attend school all year round. So it's pretty shocking to realise that most of our girls used to miss 10 weeks every year of education because they don't go to school when they have their period due to lack of sanitary products. So working with our champion local mothers, they now sew and prepare our NIA, which means purpose in Kiswahili, dignity packs. And these packs include washable cloth pads, they include underpants, soap, and full care instructions. And these NIA packs have been so successful. Our data shows us that in 2018, 74% of girls missed on average 5 days per month due to their period of school. And last year, our 2021 monitoring and evaluation data evidenced that 100% of girls attend school when they have their periods due to our Keeping Girls in School project and our NIA pack. So it's just a huge impact with a pretty easy solution, really. Another project we run at Ndinogo is our teacher development, and this is upskilling the teachers in the school to ensure that they produce good lesson planning, that they're interactive teaching modules, so they generally just deliver quality teaching. And overall, our schools perform 20% better than other government schools that we don't work with. We also have what we call our Kit digital learning. So this is a pilot at a few of our schools, of which Ndinogo is one of them. We use tablets and very basic reading and maths online, downloadable online subject courses that these kids just sit on the tablet and they automatically know how to use. It's amazing. We use solar panels for charging, and the children just love this. And again, our results are showing that halfway through this pilot, it's proving really positive. And then we have our Let's Learn project. So this is the basic maths, reading, writing, and we work directly with teachers and the students to improve those three subject areas, maths, reading, and writing, which is essential because these children, even at primary school, they have to sit national secondary entrance exams and primary school national exams. So in 2017, when we started with Ndinogo, 64% of the students were passing these subjects. And thanks to this Let's Learn project, we now have 89% at the end of last year of our students passing. So it's a great improvement. So there are lots of challenges, of course, as I mentioned before, the need to improve the infrastructure at the school with more classrooms and repairing the dilapidated classrooms. We also obviously need more teachers, and so funding is critical to resolve these. And so that's why we're creating these education collaboratives and hoping that collectively we can work together to support this school. There are heaps of positives at Ndinogo as well. They have a really good head teacher. He's a really humble, gentle man, and a great head teacher, as all of us would having been through school or children at school, we know that the principal is crucial to the success of the school's students. So he is motivated in a very challenging environment, and he's a bit of a red gem. So that's a great start for Ndinogo. Our school management committee is another positive. We work really hard to create and engage responsible school management committees in our schools. They're pivotal to the success of the students. They ensure that the head teacher is supported through an active and committed parent community. And last year, our Ndinogo School Management Committee successfully campaigned with the parents to support that school feeding program I talked about earlier. So they would bring in extra maize and rice to contribute to the vegetables and beans grown at the school to ensure that the children had this hot lunch. And finally, what's really cool about Ndinogo is they've got the best girls football team. And these girls are phenomenal. They run around this crazy, what you'd call a sort of paddock, but it is their soccer field. They make the district girls football team, and they have also competed in the national primary schools competitions. And it's just so great to see these strong, confident girls running around the field. So I'm now very grateful to introduce you to Lara Wentworth. So Lara was a family law partner, and then she followed her passion to inspire others, and now practices as a performance, wellness, and a leadership coach. Lara's an NLP master practitioner. She's a professional speaker. She's also co-founder and director at Coaching Advocates. The list of Lara's achievements is pretty endless, really. And we first met Lara at Momentum Media's Women in Law event in Sydney last year. And Lara's understanding and generosity and compassion was just immediately demonstrated when she was the first to sign up to our Endinogo Education Collective. So thank you, Lara, and for all your support, and welcome.
Thank you, Cass. Thank you. It's so lovely to be here. I'm so moved by all the things that I've seen, you know, even more than what I've been moved in the past. It's such a beautiful thing to be a part of, and to know that there's people like you and Em out there who are making such a massive difference in the world is so comforting. So thank you. Love your work and love everything you do. So I absolutely love being part of this education collective. I remember when I first met Em back at, I think it was, I don't know, November sometime last year. She had this beautiful energy, and she started telling me about this collective and the idea of bringing 40 lawyers together to support a school in Africa. And that kind of really resonated with me on a number of levels. And then I sort of left it for a while, and then I spoke to Emily, and it was just such a natural thing for me to do, get involved, give $60 a month. I mean, $60 a month. I worked out that I spend more than double that on coffee a month. I don't know if you know the cost of a dirty chai latte on almond milk these days, but it's not cheap. And so I thought, wow, $60 a month from my pocket really isn't going to affect too much, but it is going to make such a huge impact for so many beautiful children overseas in Africa, where, you know, the ripple effect on their lives and their communities and their families is going to be immeasurable. And so if that's all it's going to take, you know, order a small latte as opposed to a large latte, then it's all very, very worth it. So I was really interested in that. The other thing that really attracted me to being part of this collective is this idea that 40 people, 40 lawyers can come together and collectively make such a huge impact on a school. So there was something tangible that we can look at, something real that we can impact. And I'm all about community, you know, as part of my coaching and the communities that we build through Coaching Advocates. It's really about bringing lawyers together. You know, we think that that's something that's missing for us is in the profession, because we can be very isolated and very competitive. And so I think a natural part of being human is to belong and to come together. And so being part of, you know, a group of 40 lawyers who can impact something so magnificent and so important really spoke to me. I thought that is collaboration, you know, that is community, that is, you know, and what Jerome mentioned at the start about us lawyers being all about service, and that's so true. You know, lawyers and the profession is a noble profession, and it really started out as being one that is there to, you know, service and impact the community in a positive, in an ecological way. And what better way than to do this? And I also love the idea that we're not just, you know, that you're not just feeding the hungry, which is also beautiful, but it's not just about feeding the hungry, because then what happens once that meal runs out? You know, where do they go after that? So this idea that we are teaching people to fish speaks to me. It really does, because that's really about helping, in my mind, and I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of lawyers watching, helping people self-actualize. And I don't know about you watching or here with us today, but when we get to a point in our lives where we feel like we have self-actualized ourselves, our need to contribute is that natural next step. Our need to give back to other people who have yet to self-actualize is a natural progression in our humanity. And if we can give people the ability to meet their basic needs, their survival needs, if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then we are going to set them on their way to also self-actualize. And what a beautiful way to live. What a beautiful way to give back. And so I really feel like this is something that speaks to me, that calls me. I just listen. I really do. I listen in my life to whatever calls me, and I follow. And I really hope that this speaks to lots of other lawyers and calls them, so that we can make the work that Cass, and so they can make their work even more impactful, because kids need to go to school. Kids need, I don't know about you, who people have been homeschooling or have homeschooled, but I remember thinking after 6 weeks of homeschooling, kids need to be at school. There's just no other two ways about it. They're not made for anything else. They need to be at school. And so we take it for granted that our children get to go to school, get to have an education, you know, get to socialize, get to be part of a community, of a classroom, and to learn. And so other children all around the world also have that right. So thank you, Cass, and thank you So They Can for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm honoured to be here.
Thank you, Lara.
Pleasure. Okay.
Are you on mute, Jerome? I think.
Sorry, yes, I am. Isn't that always the story of all of us in the pandemic, not realizing? So thank you all for coming to this session today. I'm learning a little bit more about the Education Collective and what So They Can, together with Lawyers Weekly, is hoping to achieve. If you're interested in being part of this initiative, in being one of the 40 lawyers alongside Lara, who is looking to support these communities on the ground, you can go to the page sotheycan.org/lawyersweekly. Once again, that is sotheycan.org/lawyersweekly. You can learn a little bit more about the initiative, what is going to be happening, how and when you can be involved in this. And you can also click the link there to sign up. If you've got any questions about this, you want to learn more, then get in touch with Emily Whitehouse. She's the Partnerships Manager of So They Can, as I said right at the start, and she'll be able to give you more information. Alternatively, if you want to get in touch via Lawyers Weekly, just reach out at editor@lawyersweekly.com.au, and I'll be sure to pass you along to Emily, who is much better versed in all of this than I am, and she's also will be able to sort of walk you through everything that you do need to do. Thank you for joining. Once again, we really appreciate you making the time today. If you weren't able to view the whole presentation, we will be posting the recording out to all of you. It'll also be available online so that you can go back and check out everything that you might have missed. But for the time being, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend. Cheers.
Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you, everyone.